Back from first school, not yesterday, days ago from SUNY. What? One of those. Where's?
Yes.
So that is now an option. But most of what she applied out of state and she just like a lot of these big states pulled all over the country, so. I don't imagine she'll stay local, but you never know.
Alliance from City of Honor.
Yeah. Anywhere in particular, it's gonna.
Colorado School.
Oh, yes, that's great. Like the best was, I know that's very far.
And then he just went and visited one in Missouri, St. Louis. And I can't remember if it's gone.
Very cool. Me and my daughter were on out the band together.
Yeah.
So both have this adventure.
I know.
It's like,
Oh.
I may never see them again when they leave.
It was like-
But this is just not a lot of mining out this way, nor what she wants to do with tackle the world.
Oh, it wasn't great. So that was by time.
Yeah. I don't want to say, but I did, I went to school far from home.
I didn't know, but.
I don't remember,
All right.
it was more, it just wasn't what it is now. Warm, I think I wrote an essay somewhere.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Yeah.
Got in some place, but didn't get in others, but I just.
I know,
You know, thing to read it now.
I know, boy.
Well,
All right, that's fine. I guess we're still with the process. I grew up outside of Philadelphia. There were 6 kids in our family. I started to very.
I have family with cat on the road.
Yeah. My sister, I was second, my sister was third. All the others were boys. We had to. So he went to Siena and ended up going to Temple University because they were, they wanted me to go to Catholic school. You grew up, where'd you grow up? Outside of Philadelphia. And I was so glad I went there. So I thought, great school, yeah, good choice. So Temple is cool. Community. Yeah, it was college. You know, we're bad.
Probably been there right around the same time with a very good friend of mine's dad, Bud Goldage, who
Okay.
on Temple my whole childhood. He's basically, I don't know, Cedric and I were always getting age,
Yeah,
probably around.
I graduated in 71.
Yeah, he was probably like 68, 69, somewhere in there, but
I'm sorry.
just always thought about how much he loved.
Yeah. And it would have been a different experience.
Yeah.
I have 2 dogs coming in. As I said, so here you go. That's good. And 2 cats. And so there were subway.
That's cool, yeah.
It's 6:00, I would call this board of trustees meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I will open the floor for public comment. Anybody who wishes to speak, please just approach the microphone and give your name and address, just so the clerk has.
I just did a question about the, oh, I'm sorry, Patton Cooch. 35 Lake Street, Cooperstown, for the League of Women Voters. I just wanted a clarification when you, in the minutes, I'm sorry, the agenda for this evening, there was mention of the village election that's upcoming. And I wonder if you could just say which members of the trustees are going to be up for election this year.
Yeah, someone asked about that just the other day. We have our newest board member, Molly. who's filling in the term she's taking over, Hannah's, has another year to run. So Molly will be running for a 1-year term. George is running for hopefully another 3-year term. And Joe is the other. So 3 people will be on the ballot. Is there anyone else with questions, comments? Oh, I thought you wanted to do it now, Josh. Do you want to?
I'm just gonna pass up, listen and hear what the.
Oh. You don't want to speak?
25 Main Street is my office.
Well, I should start, it's actually the very first thing in our packet. If we could move on to correspondence. We have Josh's letter in the packet. We have a letter from Paul D'Ambrosio, President and CEO of Fenimore and Fenimore Farm. And we also received one from Lynette Moore Witta, is that how you say it? From the Chamber of Commerce, so relative to the trolley. We probably will be discussing trolley later in the meeting under streets, but that might be a little while. I could move a little bit up to facilitate if you're being here. I think I shall, but first, I do want to announce that we will have a public hearing, which will be held at 6:30 p.m. or as soon thereafter as can be heard. And that is relative to proposed local law number 12. Boy, we've been busy this year. 12 of 2025 to amend a section of our zoning law pertaining to subdivision. So let me just move forward then. Review of minutes. In your packet were the November 17th minutes. I found only like 1 or 2 little ones that I shared. I don't know about you, Cindy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, because probably the same one. All right. I move that we approve the minutes of November 17th meeting with corrections submitted. Second by, oh, I'm sorry, whoever, I was looking at Molly, it spoke up, Molly. All in favor? And then let's just jump down to Streets Committee. And how, is that right?
Yeah. From the street committee report. As I think everyone may know, the really complicated relationship with the county regarding the trolley. And last month in our meeting, we had advised the county through vote that we did not encourage entering into a 5-year fixed contract in response to their RFP. They were advised by their legal counsel that they could not change the terms of that RFP, that if the village were interested in something different, they had to reissue the RFP. So I attended the IGA meeting at Otsego County this past Tuesday, and they agreed to move forward with a new RFP, which will probably go out in January, and that would be for a 1-year term with the ability for multiple renewals. They were concerned if it were just a 1-year term, no one would probably bid, or the bidders would be restricted. So the idea is that they will issue an RFP for a 1-year term with up to 4 renewals, contingent on agreement by both parties. We also did discuss the trolleys themselves. It was confirmed by, Tammy actually produced a copy of the check that we had used to pay the 10% match for the federal funding that was used to purchase our oldest trolley.
2018.
So its useful life goes through 2028. We discussed what happens then when the county decides to surplus that vehicle.
And there was not an immediate conclusion, but the county planning department is contacting DOT to find out what possibilities are. The County Board of Representatives, IGA, were concerned that they cannot simply give money to a municipality, which is understandable, I suppose. But there is this reconciliation and reimbursement process that we do on an annual basis. And I suggested that the proceeds of that would make sense
Could
to
offset.
offset that.
Just so everyone knows, that was about $140,000 trolley. Fortunately, as I say, working with the county, they picked up 90% of that cost. We picked up $14,000. So that's the only trolley that we had an interest in. For whatever reason. We weren't asked to pay for the subsequent ones. The county, and using, state funds and reimbursements, has purchased those.
And the reason that this matters is that in the past, we have used proceeds from the sale of trolleys that were owned by the village as a way to replenish the trolley fund, because the trolleys seem to depreciate at a slower rate than their useful life. So we often sell them at a considerable price. So we were using that to sort of rejuvenate our trolley enterprise fund. And because we no longer own the trolleys, that particular avenue is no longer available to us.
How many trolleys are there?
3.
And the other 2 are?
Newer.
Who owns those?
The county.
County.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so the reason that the county owes them is that the county is able to leverage federal funds that pay for 90% of the vehicle. And for the second 2, the 2 that are newer, which I believe date to the pandemic year 2020, because who knew, right? They were also able to leverage other non-county, non-village funds to meet.
Cindy, may I ask a technical question on the RFP,
Mhm.
the new RFP? Is the renewal on exactly the same terms or mutually agreed?
It will be on terms that are defined at the time of response to the RFP. So for instance, the 5-year contract had a built-in 3% increase on an annual basis, and I would suppose that someone responding to this RFP would likewise suggest that the annual.
Right, but would there be authority to do that in, say, year 2? So there would not be, that term would be fixed, it couldn't be.
Or there has to be another RFP.
So it's a pure extension, it's not any renegotiated terms. Okay, thanks.
I don't know if you referred to that, but the goal is there was only one response to that one. And so we know people who would be interested in perhaps, but kind of just let the date pass, miss the submission. So potentially there'd be more competitive bids as well.
So the county. But they're hopeful.
The issue is we can't afford the trolley.
We have enough money for a year.
Oh, for one.
Actually, I think we have enough money perhaps for 3 years,
Okay.
but not for 5.
I don't know, the bid that came in, as you recall, was $80,000. And obviously it wouldn't be a full 80 because the county takes some of that, and then STOA funds, state operating assistance would take some back.
Okay.
So maybe 3 years. It'd be pretty tight to get 3 years at that rate, which is why we're hopeful that there might be a better bid and more competitive bids on this second RFP.
So do we have a decision to make?
No,
Just
we're just trying to be informative. And if you have any questions, I would allow that from the, no. Yep, sure.
For those, I know many of you know me, but Josh Rawich, I'm at 25 Main Street, 2 Chestnut normally, but really, I think our goal is just to learn about this process, but also just to make sure that everyone here recognizes how important we think it is for the village in general. We believe there are probably creative solutions. Obviously, we have to see what kind of bids come in, but what the trolley does for this town is very, very important. Certainly very important for those of us at the Hall of Fame. I believe it's also very important for the other businesses on Main Street. And we just want to find a way to work together with you guys. We recognize that it's a challenge. We recognize that it's not easy to go back to bid and try to get people to want to help in this situation, but there have to be creative solutions because this is an important part of how people get into our town, how they spend 6-7 hours at the Hall of Fame, how they spend their money in our town. And again, just appreciate everybody's efforts to, first of all, appreciate you moving this up in the agenda. I'm happy to stay. But that's very kind of you, and look forward to hopefully finding a way to work together with you guys to make this work for the whole village.
Before
Thanks.
you go, can we, it's now appropriate to have some informational questions back and forth, and Cindy might be able to help with this. I looked at your letter, and I was struck by the very powerful statement at the end of the first paragraph talking about critical. Oh, it is not close enough? Okay. Being so critical to the survival of our institution. Take that very seriously.
Sure.
Later on in the letter, you explain the concern that some visitors have about the length of their visit being 5 or 6 hours and having to move or replenish their parking. And Cindy, can you address, because I don't want to stumble over it, just how our parking system works? Because it may help as part of our creative.
I actually did that when this letter came in, and I can repeat it. I basically then talked about our Passport app, and that we know from that app that we have quite a few users who, once they leave their vehicle, yes, we would love people to kind of move around and not stay parked for 10 hours on our Main Street, so to speak, but they have totally the option to just re-up for another 2 hours without leaving wherever they are visiting.
Right, and I think that's, and I don't know how well understood that is by Hall of Fame patrons. So if there's an information sheet that's put out, how to enjoy maximizing your visitor experience or something that might be helpful to share. The other part of this is even without the passport, people are, and since they have the stamp or the bracelet to get in and out of the museum, they can return to their vehicle and up their time without having to move their car. There was some confusion about that in the past, but that's no longer the case. I'm checking if that's correct.
There are some times of the year, they would not be the times the trolley is running, but there are some times of the year where we do enforce the 2-hour limit. It is when paid parking is not in effect and our.
Oh, right. No, but what I mean is if I'm in a parking space while paid parking is in effect and my 2 hours runs out or is about to run out, I can go and replenish that exact same spot. I don't have to quit that space with my vehicle. I can just take another 2 hours. So you can do it by the app or you can do it physically returning to the vehicle. Okay, I just wanted that to be clear because it struck me how emphatic you were about parking being an issue for patrons at the museum. So I hadn't quite grasped the seriousness with which you take it.
It is, and I can tell you, because we actually had somebody on our team kind of go through all of the complaints that we get, and basically 15% of the comments we get, we don't ask, is parking a problem? 15% of the people who fill out our surveys specifically tell us that parking is a problem when they attend the museum, and we get crazy high marks for almost any place in the world. Would love to get 9.2s and 9.3s out of 10 on everything they're doing, and without a doubt, the single most significant complaint about parking, and that's something we're trying to solve. And this is a great way that we are able to do that. I realize it's not a catch-all for everybody, But certainly people like to use this and they, I think in many cases, don't know how to find the trolley lots. They pull up here looking for parking and they're trying to figure out where to go. So I think it's all part of the creative solution.
And
I've noticed or looked in the past and talked to the owner of the private paid lot on Chestnut Street, just south the traffic light. And a lot of times they're not full. Maybe during a special weekend, they're absolutely full. But there are frequently spots there. People don't like the idea of paying $15, but you know, parking with our meters is gonna cost them the same.
Sure, and the trolley obviously costs as well, so we're not certainly looking for ways for people to not have to pay to park. But I think one of the challenges, and it's based on really when people arrive, but there are huge periods of time where large numbers of people will all show up at 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock, and some of that has to do with just the normal flow of business here. So you're probably right. There are probably times when lots and or spots are open. But that doesn't help us solve the fact that we have huge numbers of customers who are complaining that they can't find parking.
may I ask for, if I may,
Mhm.
in the paragraph, I guess your third paragraph, you say, I'm not understanding the problem or its solution, but we'd be comfortable having the stop in front of the Hall of Fame service all riders.
Yeah.
Is it right now limited?
So yeah, that was, Mayor and I had a conversation when I was trying to kind of get educated on this, and she mentioned that the trolley does stop in a spot close to Doubleday that takes significant revenue away from the village, that if you could use those spots to get more paid parking, that would help. And so simply all I'm saying is that we would be comfortable if the trolley only stopped in front of the hall and it wound up, even for people that might be going to Mel's or some other place, it certainly doesn't bother us if the trolley, if you guys took those spots back, allowed yourself to generate more revenue and people got dropped in front.
Be interesting to find out how many people actually utilize. It's located now in front of Key Bank.
Yeah.
And that was a change we just kind of made this year. It was further up the street before, but it'd be interesting to see how many actually bounce out of there, because I probably agree with you. I think 90 to 95% of the people are headed toward the hall.
Yeah, and ultimately then, once they're there, being able to stay for more than a couple hours or not feel like, oh, I gotta make sure that I get on my app, or set my timer, or make sure all the things that we all, it's just much more convenient to be able to park in a lot, take a trolley in and be set for the day. And that's why people use it to come down.
Yeah, we might be data starved on this, but I think the idea of our downtown businesses by the intersection of Chestnut and Main having to ride the trolley all the way basically to the end of the business section of Main Street at the hall, and then have to trot all the way back. So we only have 2 Main Street trolley stops right now?
Two in the paid parking
Right.
area.
Yeah.
There's one at the annex, across from
Right.
the Chamber of Commerce, which the Chamber of Commerce, I think, referred to in its letter to some extent. It's one at Lakefront Park. There's a whole loop, but there are 2 on the portion of Main Street between the traffic light and the Hall of Fame. Mhm.
So I also have a question. If people are complaining about the parking, I'm assuming that they don't know about the trolley and the other lots?
Yeah, I mean,
Or, I mean, are those lots full and people they're not utilizing the trolley to the maximum amount they could?
No, and we do, I mean, we work with the Hall of Fame. If you go to their website right now, you can find directions to use the trolley.
But people don't always see it.
I don't know that they don't always see it, or, we live in a culture where you want to have your car right where you are.
Right.
Anybody who's been Christmas shopping in a mall knows that as well. And so, the idea that you would leave your car somewhere and then take the trolley in, I think to some people, it's not their first choice.
Right.
To others, it might be their first choice, but.
I'm just, and some of the sample comments we got just within the past year is 2-hour parking on Main Street, simply not enough for a visit. No signs about the trolley lot, spent 30 minutes trying to figure it out. So I do believe we do a pretty good job of educating the public on our website and through other ways that it exists. But if you didn't go to the website in advance and you're just pulling up, you want to know, where can I go to just park for the day? And maybe, like I said, I think there are creative solutions with a number of the organizations in town to figure out how to keep this going and do what it's been doing for many years.
I should, oh, I'm sorry.
You say you really did underground garage.
I was going to say, but you know, you can also list the option of all day parking in Doubleday.
And I think it does say that on the.
Okay,
web.
Yeah,
But
but
does a pretty good job of explaining it. I think the hard part is for overwhelming majority of people. If you think about when you go someplace, you don't necessarily check the website before you go.
Right.
You pull up and you
Yeah.
try to find what's there and then you're
We don't.
confused and.
Yeah.
You and I might, but maybe not all
Yeah.
1,000 people that come to the hall. So,
Yeah.
again, appreciate you all, hearing what we have to say and hopefully working to find some sort of creative solution.
Thank you, Josh, for
Josh.
coming. We appreciate that. Why don't we just finish up with streets since we're
Okay.
on it?
Sure.
In your packet, in addition to the minutes of Streets Committee, you have the resolution, and you may say, oh, this looks very familiar. Well, essentially, there've just been a couple minor tweaks, and this has been reviewed by the village attorney. I also compared this to the one that we approved previously. Basically, what happened was the individual who drafted it was the very first one he had ever drafted. And when it kind of got, I think, reviewed by others, they just checked a few different boxes. So there's no intrinsic difference or with this, and it's almost formulaic. So I move that we approve the resolution. Do you know what number it'll be, or?
I mean, it's basically the same resolution as our past, I don't know if I'm hiding that number.
Okay, he'll probably tell you that. Okay. For the betterment agreement. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Cindy? All right. Any comments? All those in favor?
So there are two other things under streets. One concerns tree trimming and tree removal bids. If you look at the last page of your minutes from the street committee meeting, you will see that we received two bids, which is very exciting because sometimes we only get one. And I would like to make a motion to accept the tree removal and trimming bid for $33,755, plus the separate bid for the crabapple trees, which is $3,600.
I'll second that, but I have a question.
Mhm.
Is the tree the one on Chestnut Street next to your lake?
This is
It's canted way.
This is the entirety of our tree trimming list that we had looked at, I think, 2 to 3 months ago.
Okay, so I don't understand the parenthetic, which includes the removal of crabapple. I
Oh,
thought there was a specific tree that they wanted $3,000 to remove.
no, it's really the trimming of all of the crabapple trees in the
Thank you very
village,
much.
Majority.
including the ones right outside of this
Sure.
building.
It's trimming or removal? It says removal of crabapple.
No, it was
It's trimming.
No.
It was to remove from the bid.
Oh,
I think.
got
that's
it.
what
Yeah.
they're getting at.
okay.
All right, so motion's been made, seconded. All those in favor of approving the low bid of $33,755 plus the crabapple trimming of $3,600. Say aye.
That the money for that comes from both the trimming and removal line of the budget as well as the planting line of the budget, because it is more expensive than what we had anticipated. But having had a serious tree issue, we want to make sure that we get this work
Do
done.
we still have money for all the things that we
We
need?
have a grant. We very fortunately finally received that grant, so we can still plant, which is
Yay.
exciting. And then the last item is another bit of good news, I suppose. We submitted approval of the board, a letter of intent to apply for Southern Tier 8 Regional Board ARC funding. And we actually submitted 2 letters of intent, and they have chosen to move forward and invite us to apply for the full grant for the second phase of the South End project, which is the Beaver Street corridor. You will see that that is due in February with a Zoom meeting in January based on that.
The other one was very interesting because we applied for the water meters. And as you recall, we've had this discussion previously, and in fact, had approved contracting with Lamont Engineering for $3,500 to apply for the Susquehanna River Basin funding for that. And that's the response we got from ARC. We aren't really appropriate for your water meters. You should consider this. And of course, we've already been working on that since November with that firm. So all good. Any other?
So do we need, do you feel like we need a motion to move forward with the full application, or is our previous decision?
We approved the applying for these, did we not?
We did.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't recall that if we need to, we have to do it.
I think agreeing to submit the letter of intent indicated that we plan to apply.
Yeah. All right. Any questions? No. Motion to accept the streets report
I'll make that motion.
by George, second by Audrey. All in favor? Aye. All right. Let's go back. We had emailed to us our ZEO report. This was a bit of a light month for no ZBA meeting and no planning board. There was HPARB minutes, which were emailed digitally. Hope you all had a chance to read them. Any questions, comments?
I have one that's related to the topic, and that is 30 Main Street, which is on the road. The side of they're doing a massive renovation of that building. I was troubled by the extent of it. We happened to talk to the chair, Callahan, and she said she understands that there was some improvement made by HPAR, but she was unsure as to what it's talking. The rest of it was really good. The utterly changing the fenestration, the sidings off the house, and today they trim it from porch. So so Liz, and I wrote to Liz about that latest stuff. So I have not gone back to the minutes to see what it is that has to have approved of anything, and then most of them just. And interior house, we don't have to say about anything that they have, because I can see through the now empty window spaces. They've taken basically out the ceiling of the second floor.
But the exteriors, they've done a lot of changes as well.
I believe the changes, I think the size is smaller, and I don't, and the window, one.
I'm trying to pull it up.
Okay. So I don't know what we can do about it right now, but I did talk to, mention it to her, and she's going to look into it, but that, if they're looking, Hamilton told us to be, challenging, whether it's, we happen to swing by.
What is the location?
You're feeling they did do something?
I'm sorry?
30 Main Street.
I think they approved something. I'm gonna look and see what it is.
Pioneer. It's the northeast corner. Historic building, like the original Masonic.
Yes, it is. Yeah. It's a shame. I understand that the second floor was really quite a spectacular space.
In that building,
That was like the lodge room.
it is no more.
There's some wonderful, photographs over inside all of that interior.
It's a void, right?
So you're looking for it.
I'm gonna check the minutes. Well, you can move on, but I'll.
Yes, and I'm actually text our CEO to see if he can direct us as well. 130 Lake, or I'm sorry, 30 Lake, 30 Lake. Okay, we will move on. Well, with that question, motion to accept the CEO report. By George, second by Audrey, all in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to Public Safety Police Committee.
Couple of things with the police function here in the village. Officer Lands has stepped up a huge way, trying to change procedures, provide for better efficiencies and the like. Staffing, however, still remains a problem. We're short. We do have a couple of new people who appear to be doing a pretty nice job. Officer Holt, Officer very good, I believe. I hear good things now about both of them. We are trying to hire Officer Kittle, who's been interviewed and the like. I think we spoke about that last time we met here. That's gonna help in a big way. Frank Cavalieri has been assisting and filling an empty seat when he can, and again, that's much to our benefit because you have an experienced police officer in that seat then, right? We're still awaiting Officer Kittle's background check. And hopefully we'll be able to put him on board next month. That's the way it looks at this point. My understanding that our surplus police vehicle has sold. So I think that went for $4,600, I believe, if I have the number right in my head. And the last thing of note is that Jess is also trying to reinvigorate the department's Facebook page. So basically we can put a lot of information out there, whether it's related to police issues or items such as parking there, because again, parking becomes a major function of our department during the tourist months. So again, I'm pretty pleased with everything that's going on there. He certainly seems to have a vision, and I think we're going to continue to see improvement. It's really, on that side, that's about it. I'm very pleased, yes.
I'm looking at your minutes and question about just talking about updating Facebook page.
Right.
And as far as I'm told, especially by my children, Facebook is for grandparents to. And the kids have all moved on to something else. So if we're gonna do that, it may be necessary to post on multiple meetings.
I like that. That's a good idea.
Mhm.
I'm a Facebook guy.
Our generation.
Okay, Molly, where should we go?
I've been told though that, they get shared on Celebrate Cooperstown
Instagram, yeah.
and it is seen locally. The reason this kind of came up about Facebook, for the newer members of the board, the police department did have a Facebook page that was police. If you notice, they only post on Cooperstown Police Benevolent Association, even if it's like street closure or some situation. That's because they only had access to that. The individual who had set up the other has since passed away. And I don't know if you've ever had this experience with Facebook and, not being able to retrieve the original password, but they're going to do a concerted effort to work on that. We did advise them that very much like the village Facebook page, that comments, you could spend your entire business day handling all the comments and sometimes comments, but wholly inappropriate comments. So it will be used more as a informational, this street's closed or parking will not be occurring on that street, that sort of thing. And I have to tell you, I read this and I got giggling. I said, Gary, we've had a grand theft auto in the village. I know, it was pretty. And I actually looked up. I thought, what exactly does that mean? So, no, I think we're very happy with our new officer in charge. Do you want to go on? And the fire and EMS is on the additional agenda?
I have one other question.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I have one other question.
Sure.
Sorry. George. Jess was talking to me about a personal, a potentially violent attack. Do you know what I'm talking about? What was it? An assault? Sorry.
I think that they're probably, if there is something, we should probably discuss that
Okay,
elsewhere.
okay.
Thank you.
I did realize you had an auction list in the additional
Yeah,
agenda. We need to approve that.
I did have one question.
Sure.
Because I noticed that one individual on the schedule is for both the B and the C shifts. Are they truly working a double? And is that a 20-hour double or a 16 double?
I don't believe so. I believe that's a type of. But I came across the same thing during my review.
Thank you.
Our Jess is very skilled when it comes to computers. Some of the other staff members in there significantly less so, and I think that may have been the issues there. I don't think
Yeah, address one thing in the report, and this kind of overlaps with the water and sewer report. At the fire that's mentioned on Lake Street that occurred, we learned at the Water and Sewer Board meeting that the hydrant that serviced that part of the village had two or three stuck valves. The one valve was able to be made to operate, and there was no interference with the ability to suppress and deal with the fire. But the question comes, people use these, our emergency services people rarely have to deploy a hydrant, right? Or operate a hydrant. We in the water department periodically flush them, but not always, as I understand it, are all the valves checked during, you open the one that you're going to flush with and the others are not looked at. And some of them have been retrofitted with kind of bayonet mount fittings that are easier to operate for the firefighters. So I was suggesting that we do an inventory during the course of our flushing activities, that we also check the other fittings and kind of keep an up-to-date list so that we are not
Cindy,
caught short.
did you get a response?
As we were not this time, but it's something I recommend we coordinate between the fire service and the water.
it was my understanding that it was the cap.
It was, yeah, it wasn't
It
the
was-
valve, it was the
Wasn't
cap.
valve,
It was a
the
cap. It was-
yeah.
They couldn't get it off.
Right.
And what they did is they actually wound up cutting it off. And the recommendation that's floating at this point is that when we do the flushing exercise, that each of those caps is removed and if necessary lubricated. I don't know what the maintenance would be. I would assume you put some grease on it so that for the next period of time till the next inspection comes along, that should be able to get off without superhuman efforts as it did during the course of this.
It seems to me that it's easy, should be easy enough. The interval of flushing is 5 or 6 or 7 minutes, and it seems to me our staff can check the other two while they're at that site. Just a
Yeah,
thought.
that's,
Yeah, and it should be, and as you noted, there was several tankers on site, and so the fire was quenched with the available water in the tankers. And our staff, water department staff did arrive. Had that not been the case, they had it opened up for them. So everyone worked well together on that.
Yes.
Just to go back, I've had a response from our CEO. 30 Lake Street got a 2-year old permit renewed in May 2025. Permit was for the rebuilding of porches, deck, and windows.
Right, and the question is, what were the criteria for that? Because I think they've changed the fenestration. That's my,
All right.
okay.
And as you pointed out, Joe, there's no siding left on one side, it was all scrap.
Mhm. All right. So we'll just ask, follow up for confirmation that window sizes, adhere to the. Yeah.
It will be a different building.
All right. George, you want to make the motion for your police, the auction items?
Redo the fire.
I'm sorry.
The fire portion of the public safety?
No, on the additional agenda,
No, but we need.
but
to
this
talk
is,
about the fire?
oh, I thought we were still doing police, are
Right.
we?
Yep, you're right.
I don't have it right in front of me now. How many items?
It's in your
Yeah, no,
additional.
I'm sorry.
Just a motion. I move that we auction the items listed on this sheet. And have that put into the record. Second by George.
So I'll second that.
Yeah, but just a
Mhm.
question. So this
Just gonna count.
This figure of $1,134 is their cost new, or what is? the
It's their estimate, I think, of what they might bring.
Okay, that's a big
Yeah,
difference.
it's just, yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
So any other questions? Motion made, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And yes, fire and EMS was also in the additional agenda.
Brief summary, I believe everybody's gotten a copy of it, 15 calls during the reporting period. 12 calls in Cooperstown, 2 in Middlefield and 1 in the town of Otsego. 6 alarm calls, including 2 false activations, 2 responses for hang wires, three motor vehicle accidents, and including 1 which wound up with some serious injuries, I believe, involving a tractor trailer. And I make note of the fire on Lake Street that resulted in a single fatality there. 59 EMS calls during the month of November. In 8 instances, the service was unable to raise a crew. 17 calls within the village, 4 in Middlefield, 17 in Otsego, 3 in Springfield. Captain Simon report there's been an increase in mutual aid requests from our neighboring agencies, including Hartwick, Fly Creek, Cherry Valley, Otsego County, and Otsego County EMS. And on a really nice note, and again, to the credit of the people in this village, the squad food drive took place on the 13th at Prize Chopper. 1,654 pounds of food items were collected. And additionally, almost $10,000 in monetary donations were given.
Great.
So really an extraordinary event that seems to be growing from year to year.
All right, any questions, comments on public safety? Motion to approve by Molly, second by Audrey, all in favor? Moving on, we have,
Do you want to start the
oh, I'm sorry.
hearing? Or
Oh, the
6, I thought you.
Oh,
hearing.
that's true. We do have our public hearing. Thank you, Joe. We will open the public hearing for local law number 12 of 2025 to amend section 245-1 and 245-2 of the zoning law subdivision of land by revising the definition of subdivision and adding the definition and procedures for lot line adjustment. Cindy, do you want to walk us through that? And I believe we have,
Yeah.
filling it out every day.
You have it in your packet as well, so if you want to follow along.
Very minor change to the subdivision law, what it allows is for the situations where there is a lot line adjustment. And the resulting lots meet all of the requirements of our zoning law. That the planning board can do an expedited review as opposed to a full subdivision review, which is a lengthy process. Because that is a change to the subdivision law, we did in the past, the planning board to weigh in, you'll see an email from Gene Berman. In the name of the planning board is very much in favor of this, that's very what I'm sorry about.
May I, and
Yeah.
go ahead. I have a question when you're finished with your introduction.
It did not have to go to the county planning board because it is not part of the zoning law. It is part of the subdivision law. I believe that it is an unlisted action under seeker, so I took the liberty of filling out part 1, 2, and 2, and we can go through those, but it's on those.
Yeah, I'm looking at on the first page of part 1, the brief description of proposed action. And it says, it has a typo in it. Will provide an abbreviated process for planning review of lot line adjustments when the resulting lots are of sufficient dimension to meet the requirements for minimum lot area, minimum lot width, and minimum yard requirements. So in the case I'm thinking of, there are 2 lots, neither of which have minimum. They're both undersized. They're historic lots on Lake Street. And if a lot line can, under this law, if when they at the starting point, neither of them satisfies the minimum requirements, but they're disproportionate in their undersized, and somebody wants to do a lot line adjustment, are they eligible in any case to do that or not? Even it to be non-conforming, that's what I'm struggling with. If the planning board rule or our law seems to be that you must have minimum lot sizes.
Yeah, it's a little, unfortunately, you all have to remember your packet last month when we set this public hearing, because there was a 1-page form and it's in here again. Yeah. Okay, I didn't see it in mine, so I apologize.
Means everything has to fall in line.
Okay.
If everything does not, because you started off in a place that was already non-conforming, then you would have to go through.
Then you don't qualify for the abbreviated. We're just talking about that for
Yep,
this particular
thank you.
one. Yep. So, any other questions? Cindy had kindly completed 1, 2, and 3. Any questions, comments? No? All right. Do you want to make a motion?
The short environmental assessment form for the subdivision and then the text box, which says, check the fact that you have determined based on the information and the analysis above and in supporting documentation that the proposed action will not result in any adverse environmental.
Motion made, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
And now, that was seeker though. So now we need to. Don't think we're getting a lot of comment on it.
I don't think so.
No, it's not. I close the public hearing.
That's proposed local law number 12 of 2025, amending the subdivision portion of our law.
Second by Richard, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, we've skipped around here a bit, but I believe we're at Doubleday now, correct?
We had quite the experience or quite the meeting on December 1st for Doubleday. Definitely very, very exciting. There's a couple new islands of business that Mr. Katz brought up, and he talked a lot about Friends of Doubleday. One of the most exciting things, at least from in my opinion, is that he was talking about that Steve Murphy of the Orioles donated a bunch of picnic tables that they set up along the third baseline there, and he and Steve Murphy decided to create this sign that they were hoping to uh, have him make, and Friends of Doubleday would pay, and they would, I'm sorry, basically hang this up by where all the picnic tables are. They were hoping that we would approve that before they hang it up, just so they.
How large are these?
I'm not quite sure.
What does it say?
Basically says Friends of Doubleday and
Have donated these
donated these tables. Yeah.
I think the size of them would be useful to know. You know, if they're just. Okay.
Yeah.
Are things that are going on a table or on the wall or on the fence? I didn't know what the location.
Yeah.
for the fence.
Yeah, from what I gathered at the meeting, would be on some of the fences on the third base side.
Mm-hmm. You know, and are these, what shall I say, new picnic tables? Because for a while, we actually made some picnic tables from the old third base bleacher. Are they utilizing the old third base bleacher seating?
I'm not quite sure. From my understanding is that they were totally new. Totally new.
They didn't like our third base. I did. I thought they were great looking.
May I ask who JSB Baseball is?
I'm not quite sure on that. I believe JSB Baseball is somehow connected to the Orioles. It possibly is.
But there are palm.
Oh, he does one of the tournaments.
There are palm trees in their logo, so where are they based? Florida? Yeah, no.
But
I think we need to know that before we approve using your logo. Who they are.
Yeah, if we could find out maybe a picture of the picnic table, if they're not using our wonderful recycled third base seating, but also when we talked, we did do one of those tables at one point, and it was over by sort of the dry cleaner area there. And it had a little sign on it at that time that, you know, people could purchase that type of table. And it obviously the funds would go to Doubleday because it was our old seating. So I think we need a little bit of sign material, what these benches are. You know, I'm fine if this is on the picnic table. Big signage, I might, you know, there might be some.
But I think this says that it's supposed to be on the fencing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's on the
attached to the
fencing, so
fencing.
it's pretty big,
Yeah.
so.
I think we really need to know who or what JSB baseball is, who's involved. You never know when things like this come back to bite you.
So, Mitch says the tables were made from the bleachers.
Oh,
They were.
They were.
So we like them. Good.
I believe, based on the minutes, that JSB baseball / Orioles are someone who's hosted the tournaments for years.
I understand that. I still think we need to be very careful and know who they are before we approve their logo being placed there.
so we had, go ahead.
I'm just, you know, these things come back to bite people, especially governmental, governments and elected officials.
We had talked about advertising on the outfield.
Banners.
Banner advertising as a revenue producing enterprise. I'm not sure what, I guess I'm not sure what this would, I don't get it. I don't understand how this goes on the wall. What, these tables are being purchased by these two entities with Friends
Yeah, it's the Friends, and I believe the JSB Baseball donated a bunch of money to the Friends for the tables.
So, but these would hang on the fence independent of anything, not be associated with the picnic area, they just be.
Well, they're looking to put these picnic tables at the end of the Fowler Pavilion on the south end that has the grass. So I'm envisioning they're talking about putting it on the wall or
Retaining wall?
wall behind it or something. So I do think we need a little more information and size of the signage,
Yeah, that's a.
size and location and,
And if we, not to be a stickler, but if we, I just can't remember whether we've approved. I see the Friends of Doubleday logo is using the Doubleday image that we've copyrighted. So we've taken care of all of that.
they, that,
Ages ago we left.
yeah, that was ages ago we allowed that. Because they donate funds to us.
No, I get that part, but I'm just. What it means for, if we've documented that so that we are
Yeah,
not gonna.
it was allowed
We did
years
with
ago.
Well, when Friends of Doug.
Yeah.
was created, he said they could use that.
Mhm.
Could be wrong.
I can't tell you about JSB baseball.
But-
I have my computer.
Is it Junior Swamp Bat?
It's Junior Swamp Bat, it's a nonprofit, it was established in 2011.
Right, and it says something about New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Vermont. But they have palm trees in there. I found something about South Carolina too. So I don't.
You know, you're right, they're not palm trees, they're palmettos.
Yeah, so see, I think there's a there probably are a few junior swamp bats. It's I don't know.
But it is a nonprofit, which I think is part of your.
Yeah.
your-
Mhm.
Sure, yes.
Mhm.
Well,
All right. So a few more little questions to work out on that.
Definitely.
Is, anything else on,
So,
Doubleday?
yeah, so Mr. Katz did talk about, he is gonna host his Hot Stove Weekend fundraiser, which is gonna be, March 20th to 22nd of 2026. That will be in the ballroom here. He's anticipating selling about 50 tickets for that, and, I'm excited to see how that goes. He did say that the Friends of Doubleday will be making about a $5,000 to $10,000 donation to Doubleday Field in the spring of next year. There was no real new business on the SEC and Big Ten baseball showcase we were hoping for October of 2026. Dave Fontaine has not gotten back to us about whether he wants to go through with that contract or not. And there's been a couple plans for the Memorial Day weekend Classic next year, which the Hall of Fame will get back to us about that. And we did have an executive meeting in the middle of that, and I will hopefully talk about stuff from the executive meeting in our here today.
All right. Any questions on Doubleday? Bill? No. Motion to accept by, oh, I'm sorry.
I move to
Audrey,
accept.
second by George, all in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
Moving on. Buildings Committee.
Buildings committee did not meet, but we have an action. item.
I saw that.
Move to approve, payment of up to $3,500 for marble sill for the front of the,
Motion made by Richard, second by Molly, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. I believe we're at finance, Joe.
Okey-doke. Well, we had an extended meeting, as has been our practice in the past few months, at our finance committee meeting, to address, the considerable number of items you have in your packet. The second page of your packet, identifies them, and there are, I think, we've already approved the auction items in the supplemental agenda. So, I would move pursuant to our consent agenda, the approval of the invoice payments, the change transactions, there are abstracts and transfers, I think those are all the action items in this consent agenda.
All right, so covers everything sort of between, and then you're going to review, or, because the consent agenda is really 1 through 24. You're good with all of those?
Yes.
You're not pulling anything out? Okay,
Well, let's confine it to that. And then we do have the abstracts and transfers.
okay,
And,
all right.
that I would add to that, I guess. And we have no trading requests this year, this month. So items 1 through 24 under finance, and item see, these were renumbered, so what is this we're calling? Item abstract and transfers, and item number 1 on the 3rd page would be it's another item under finance. These are aligned in a way that they go from finance to personnel back to finance. So 1 through 24 under finance, and then again, abstracts and transfers.
All right, so Joe's made that motion, second by, mhm.
Sure.
So the, for this next is more detailed, but it has done that and includes some pretty small amounts of sort of regular business. And I just wondered about a change in procedure.
Well, here's the problem that we're having, and it's ephemeral. We are having our meetings much earlier because of the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays.
Yeah.
So these were invoices that came in that didn't get into our
Packet
Okay.
that we review, so that's why it's
So
coming
we thought
here.
we'd just get them. It's,
That's fine. I just wondered, as I said, if.
No, that's
more detailed.
perfectly valid question if you were looking at that, but these, we had an early meeting last month, if you recall, and it was early this month, but it's important to get those covered. So motion was made, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Are we really moving along this quickly? Must be the holiday season.
Yeah.
I know several of you came to our gingerbread stroll on December 2nd. That was a great event, and the gingerbread making was pretty intense. I hope you all got a chance to see the gingerbread village hall with lights. If you turn the light switch, it actually lights up. It's in the case, though I went to show it to someone today because I'm just so enamored with that creation by Chloe and company. And the little frosting that said Village Hall had fallen down. So the building needs repair, but
Where is the building?
it's up at, the display case at the foot of the stairs going up to the ballroom.
It's in there.
Yep, and the light switch is there, and so incredibly impressive. But all the houses that were made, that was packed, the ballroom for that event.
In spite
Really,
of the weather,
yeah.
because it was a very stormy
I
day.
didn't know if it was despite, because it turned out to be a snow day, or
Oh.
because of it's like, oh my gosh, let's go do this,
Yeah.
do something with these children.
So
But
we
it
need
would,
an appropriation to rehang the small sign on that gingerbread.
yeah, right. It's under buildings. We'll do it later. As you all know, we take, Welcome Home Cooperstown does not meet, does not have a community gathering in January. We'll put together the schedule for the remaining 11 months. I did want to see if the board was interested. Twice now in the past 2 years, we have handled refreshments. One year, I really enjoyed it, actually. It was the hot dog and hamburger on the front lawn with salads, etc. We were tardy in signing up for anything last year, so we didn't get that. We got the November date and ended up, having a restaurant prepare certain foods, and that was great too. So, is the board interested in sponsoring refreshments at Welcome Home Cooperstown for one of the months? Yes.
Yes.
And that's what I was gonna say. Your preference for summer, it would be mine. Yeah, and Joe will find someone else to bring the grill this time.
Do it, June or August is what's ice cream soon.
Okay, so when we meet in January, I will put forth that the trustees would like to host the refreshments in July or August.
August is preferable for me because I've got too many commitments in July. If I'm going to be the one looking for.
Okay, so you'd rather have, we really want to do August is what everyone's saying.
I would appreciate it.
Okay. All right, I will put that forward. New York Forward, we are kind of moving along on that. Cindy, do you want to talk about our Passero proposal that came through?
On the Department of State and review whether there was an attorney's contracts. We had received a contract from Cooperstown and passed that on to the Department of State to ensure that it meets their requirements, and then we will
Share it with you, assuming that it does. I think they might say that it needs tweaking, but we'll see. When that one is finalized, then the other respondent can use it as a model for her contract. So we are moving forward.
Nothing new really to report on I&I. I'm following up. The revised engineering grant went in, or study went in. So I do not know the status of that. We won't hear about Restore New York for probably a couple more months. It just occurred to me, Jenna, I have my own papers, but everyone saw the letter that's it's in the packet pertaining to our New York State Parks grant, correct?
Yeah.
Very kind of disappointing, but I think not unexpected. The material did was submitted after our public hearing in April, March, I believe it was. But as I reported to this board, there was a lot of phone calls and emails declaring it was alienation, et cetera. So that you see there was supplied after that whole sequence of events. But it was pretty clear they wanted us to withdraw with no penalty the request for the funds.
So Ellen, I just had a question about this. This came before this. There wasn't a date on here. You sent this to them and then they sent us.
So basically, after our March meeting, we had two public meetings, do you remember, in January and then in March. I sent in material. And then they began, and I reported this to the board, the whole legal discussion about alienation, because we were including bathrooms, an ADA bathroom in the caretaker's quarters. And because of that, they were, I think, we concurred, they were kind of perhaps looking for reasons. And so we revised, we had the engineer revise. We totally focused on the pavilion. That's when we came up with the 46-foot viewing platform on the pavilion to really sell it as that. And that is the revised text I sent at that time. So that was mailed in July 28th.
Okay.
This letter was just emailed last week.
So is that in here, by the way, in our packets or?
Yeah. This is, yeah, it's all in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't see it.
That's a disappointment.
So is the outcome is that this is the $250,000 we wanted to repurpose?
We were initially, there seemed interest, but I think the wording in that letter expresses exactly the policy of the state.
Right, I'm not questioning, I'm just trying to understand it. So we had the viewing, this is the viewing platform money that we were gonna apply to Ferry Spring. And
Correct.
the state is now saying none of that is available for that purpose.
Did you read the letter?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't see
I
it.
think if you read it, they kind of state their rationale for it.
But well, I'm just trying to understand that the money is, basically the grant is going to be rescinded or we turn it in.
They want us to basically say, we return this and there's no penalty.
Okay. And so where does that leave our project, or is that for a later discussion?
It means that we could still proceed, and we had already approved funds, because this, remember, was a 50-50, and we've said we have X amount of funds that we had set aside over the past 2 years in anticipation of finally realizing this grant. So I would see that we would be able to move forward with the caretaker's quarters and putting a bathroom in there, a shower, and the ADA with the ramp. We'll be able to do the things that they didn't want us to do, which is why we ended up focusing on the pavilion. I know the Friends of the Parks are very happy with the redesign that we came up with for the pavilion, because it's a much longer viewing platform on the front.
So just to understand this, I thought our development project was going to be 50-50, as you just said, 50-50 grant and our own funds. So we are now going to proceed only with village funds to do the caretaker property. Is that?
Well, I think we have to figure out who's going to do what, because we also committed to the Friends of the Parks.
No, we committed to the Ferry Spring project, which at one point they were going to take on for the caretaker's quarters, because we couldn't, because it was alienation, and they were never that fond of that component of it. So we will work together on projects, but I can see us really, we could begin right away the caretaker's quarters.
And ADA bathroom,
I'm sorry,
and the ADA bathroom.
in the pavilion.
Yeah.
So there's 2 ADA bathrooms. Yeah.
Even have a meeting of the minds
Yeah.
between the board and the Friends of the Parks, just in terms of who's doing what, because I think they are also really committed to going to bid like relatively soon.
Well, I'm confused now, frankly, because we've had so many different iterations, I think. Who's doing the road? Is the road getting done?
The road, I think, is on their,
Friends of the Park.
yes, because we could only really take that on because we knew that if we did it, the cost would have
be
been
higher.
higher.
Right.
But we were sort of pushed to that because of this alienation statement that was done.
I think there may be strategic ways to think about doing some of the work. Accepting the state money raised the cost for a
Right.
lot of the
Yes.
project.
Correct.
And so again, I think sitting down with Friends of the Parks and figuring out the best way to move forward, that it's cost efficient and time efficient in order.
And how should we do that meeting? I mean, is that through the Parks Board, or is it that something that we want to discuss at a separate meeting or part of the trustee? I'm not sure how to
Yeah.
proceed.
Yeah, we could certainly meet jointly, but I know they weren't interested per se in taking on the caretakers or the ADA bathrooms, because we may have to look at the septic system. So I think those would be the first village priorities, because to a degree, it impacts our ability to hire a caretaker
Right.
when they don't have bathroom
Right,
facilities.
yes, exactly.
And also, we had sort of worked together on that, because on the redesign of the pavilion, if you recall, where we would be putting the ADA bathroom was sort of this space that the lifeguards took a break in. So the caretaker's quarters involved fixing up that kind of secondary room for the for the lifeguards.
Right. And then the ramp and the viewing platform, will that still get done? Are we able? to
There's
do
a
that?
ramp on the caretakers quarters and there's a ramp for the pavilion.
So those will get done and those would be done by,
I think we'll have to see how
Yeah.
far our funds will
Go.
go between all the bathrooms, the shower, the ramp to the caretakers, and confirming the viability of the septic system. But then certainly those funds could be utilized for the other,
is the viewing platform totally out?
excuse me?
Is enlarging the viewing platform, is that totally out on the pavilion? The,
I don't think so. They were very happy
Yeah.
with that design. They, I had met with them, when was that? More recently, when they were concerned because we hadn't heard on this.
right,
I'm still puzzled about something with this news of this grant, and it was not in my packet, by the way, that's why I didn't see it. Which is okay.
Oh.
Cindy showed me the letter, but if it's.
Did you not have it in your packet either?
no, I did.
Others,
but I didn't.
it's not behind tab in the book, so it's okay, I don't want to dwell on that, but it's the question of that money, I thought was going to be integral to our decision to undertake these works at Ferry Spring. So this is all going to be village money. And what
Correct.
does that cost? Have we all?
Except that Friends of the Parks has raised a considerable
Yeah.
amount of money for some parts of the project that they were planning to.
I get that,
Yeah.
but I'm talking about what we were going to do, and I thought what we were going to do on our end had to do with using the money that we were hoping to get from this grant.
It did, but if you recall, like 3 months ago, 2 months ago, we confirmed that the village had budgeted our 50% share, which was $224,477. So those funds have not disappeared. We are committed to improvements at Ferry Spring. It's just that we will not have to jump through numerous hoops with state funds. We can't match those with state funds.
And so we think we've got the 200, the money we say we've appropriated can cover the entire cost, or we're not sure yet.
No, not the entire
No, what I
cost.
mean of our bathrooms. I'm focused on the things we said we're gonna do. And will the $200,000 cover potentially a new septic system and the 2 bathrooms?
Yeah, we don't know if it's a new septic system. That will be part of this, but I think what it could focus on are the improvements to the caretakers' quarters, the ramps, the ADA bathrooms, the shower and toilet for there. So essentially, we're adding 3 to 4 toilet bathrooms. We're improving the caretakers' quarters to have a lifeguard room to free up the space for the pavilion. And then we have the ramps. We certainly may have funds left. And we already had agreed we would do the ADA bathroom in the pavilion because the Friends did not want to take that on. So exactly where will this all work out? But I think that there's a great way to cooperate here.
Okay, so that gets back to Cindy's about, and yours about coordinating schedule
Right.
and design and everything else.
right.
Thanks.
I think what we have to do, though, is I move that we, accept this and return the grant without penalty.
Second.
Second by Joe, all in favor? Moving on, is there anything else? I should point out that the Department of State Local Waterfront Revitalization Plan, we submitted last month for our first sort of reimbursement. We submitted a little over 100,000 in expenses, and we showed close to 100,000 in our match. That's a 2575 grant. Our expenses will not be reimbursed in total until we have met our 25%, which is like $169,000. But all good. So we are proceeding with that. The 9E plan is moving along. There was a great leadership meeting last week with the town supervisors and me, and including the new town supervisor for Middlefield. So all the components of that seem to be working along. UFI has completed much of the modeling data, and that's been submitted to New York State. So all very exciting.
One thing related to the buildings motion that Richard made about the threshold is that we also need to make a motion to move from building reserves, subject to permissive referendum, the money for that work.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Would that be part of the request for on the agenda? But mentioned are sure.
I think those are different.
Okay.
Yeah, they were the sewer and water.
Add another one to your
Yeah,
public
no, we
notice.
got 4, so permissive.
Three, yeah. It will be to the buildings repair and maintenance, and I would have to look up the number.
But it's from the 22 Main Street, or which one's it coming from?
Building reserve.
From Buildings Reserve? All right. Moving on, we're at Parks Board. Oh, we didn't? Oh, okay.
I moved, I think Richard said.
Richard seconded, and I thought all in favor?
Aye.
So Parks Board meeting, the rink rollout had already happened, and which is wonderful. Friends of Parks said that they'd like to buy a vacuum cleaner for the skate shack, because it needs to be vacuumed out periodically. Do we want to discuss the snow blower at this point, since we're on Badger Park and the rink? That Bruce Miller sent a letter saying that they would like to purchase and donate a snow blower to assist with cleaning the rink, because there's been so much snow, it really is difficult to get the ice in good shape. I don't know, do we have the,
Yes,
Make a motion
we would,
accept it?
and I did touch base with Mitch about that to make sure that this was all something that, and it really is in many ways a win-win.
absolutely.
I was
Yeah.
first afraid when I saw snow blower friends, because we've gone through this in the past, and just for newer people, it's, we can't have volunteers operating machinery.
Mhm.
It's just not allowed. So I move that we accept the donation of a snow
Blower.
blower
Yep.
from the Friends of the Parks for use in Badger Park.
I have a second question.
Second,
Do we have a place to secure that on premises?
yes, we have a storage building there
Yeah,
We do?
at
Yeah.
Badger Park. Sure.
Well, we have the skate shack.
no, there's another building there.
Yeah.
I think it's near the.
We moved our old one over. There's two.
That's the
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So it can be locked.
Yeah,
Yeah. The reason there was a little bit of a delay there was they were actually trying to work on the existing one, thinking it might become operational, and it became apparent today it's not. So motion made, seconded, all in favor?
So the dog park. As you saw in the minutes, Joe and Jean and I went and looked at Badger Park as a potential site, because it was mentioned as a potential site for the dog park. And if you read the minutes, it's really clear to us that it would require a lot to turn that into a dog park because of all the vegetation, the trees, it's very lumpy.
Can I point out that
Yes.
you Google dog parks and see what they say about trees? Dog parks are supposed to have trees.
That's fine, except there are a lot of trees. I don't think they could run there right now.
No, there'd have to be some clearing. There is
Yeah.
land there though, and it's in the village and it's a village park.
Correct. However, then we of course went over to the easement and that's like, hey, this is perfect. All you have to do is put up a fence. So I think the bottom line is, as I think you spoke this morning at breakfast with the board, that we had discussed and Joe had kindly drafted a letter that we could submit from the Parks Board. Because the Parks Board, I should back up, did say that they did not think that we should pursue Badger Park. And that we should submit a letter to the school to discuss the easement in question and if it is even a possibility to put something there. And so a letter was drafted, and I think Jenna sent it out. I sent you all a copy.
In our additional
Yeah.
packet.
To send to the Facilities and Finance Committee, which is meeting on the 15th, and hope that we could meet with them then to answer their questions about the easement and come to some conclusion, resolution on whether or not this easement could be used and if they are okay with it as a dog.
So this letter in our packet is going to the superintendent, the Streck and Frank, and that's in their capacity as finance and
finance
facilities.
Okay.
Okay. And so it'd be meeting with them. Mhm.
Correct.
There needs to be a space between 2011 and 4. Second paragraph of the body.
Second paragraph. I'm sorry, I don't see it.
The second paragraph of the body, second line, end of the line.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. I was looking for the number 4.
Sorry, no, my apology.
So you mean it needs a space
needs a
between
space.
2011 and 4?
Yeah.
You know, the only question I would have there is for a village recreational facility. Was that the exact wording? Was it that we were building a facility? Or was it a community village, you know, a small
Right.
V? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at it.
Right, I left recreational facility as a quoted text. This was that the village was going to construct. Again, as I understand it, this easement is,
Let's see what it was.
the easement was conveyed to the village. The village would own the interest on the land and it would be the one to develop. It wouldn't be some abstract entity because it's ours. So
It was gonna be CYB.
It was
because
CYB, not the
it's,
village.
Baseball.
but they're not here. So-
They exist, but they're not here now. They're not financially functional.
Right, and again, I tried to keep this confined to the topic of what the easement is, what it was granted for, using the language of the easement, and then ask them if we have a meeting of the minds of what that is.
No, I think it's great. I just don't want it to look like the village planned to do it. I think it's a community because it always was going to be a Cooperstown Youth Baseball was a community group, so it's a community recreational facility. I was just tweaking that word.
taking that word out, village.
Yeah,
and
a community,
replacing
or
it
say community, say what,
No,
Or even to say
I
of a
think that's-
recreational
I think
facility.
that's creating too much ambiguity, so I would,
Just
if we're gonna
strike.
amend the letter, strike village. It's already conveyed to the village in 2011
yeah,
for construction of a recreational facility.
Right, yeah,
So
okay.
antecedent is village. But the idea of this not being a project that we have the ability to go forward with as a proprietor of that land, I don't want to create any ambiguity about it.
What you explained to me is, and how I interpret what you explained to me earlier today. We actually do not have to vote of the, whatever.
What I said, and I still say, we are two important governmental entities in this very small community. And we have gone through a property transaction together. And now, out of comedy, we want to sit down and chat about what this means to one another. And if we are on the same page, then we avoided potential conflict, or maybe none whatsoever.
But you acknowledge that there may be conflict if we're not on the same page.
Well, by course,
That's the whole point of the meeting.
right,
Yeah,
there may be.
okay. So,
and who's signing this letter?
well, it was written.
Oh, Audrey, you are.
I would sign it as the chair of Parks Board because it is going to the committee,
Mhm,
not to the superintendent.
mhm.
It is being addressed to her, but what we are doing.
I
Because she
mean,
needs to
she
know.
is included. Yes, she needs to know, but
But
this is for the
to
committee.
Subordinate committees meeting.
Right.
To report to their
Right.
principals later. That's how I thought we would have done it. I don't. know.
Can you say the site, the Parks Board is considering?
No, because we made a decision to pursue the park. And this is one of the things, the parks. Actually, I think the text reflects our decision-making to date, that we as a board of trustees voted to pursue a dog park. And this is one of the things we're investigating. We are not saying we're building it here. We don't even know.
Mhm.
That's all ultimately. But that's why this letter is on behalf of the board of trustees, because we're not taking a rogue action by a subcommittee doing its own thing. Subcommittees taking a step to implement the board of trustees' decision.
All right, I understand that. I do think that it does state that the site we are considering for the dog park is Cooperstown Central School District land that is subject to our permanent easement. I mentioned this morning at the breakfast with the board that it would not be my first choice. I really am reticent to spend village taxpayer money in the town of Otsego. As it stands now, and I kind of reviewed all that, we constructed all the sidewalk in the town of Otsego from about the county building to the school. That's village taxpayer funds did that. Because the town would not do it, and because we felt very strongly that there should be a sidewalk to the school in our community. Because it's in the town and those houses along that area are all in the town, they have no obligation, as everywhere else in the village, to clear their sidewalk. We all have to clear the sidewalk in front of our own property. So the village purchased special equipment and clears that sidewalk. They also maintain and put in all the other sidewalk. The annexation, which took 6 years to complete, beginning in 2018 and finally in 2023, we finally got that property from the street over to incorporate the buildings and our parking lot. It doesn't include this recreational area, so that's still 100% within the town of Otsego. I am reticent about utilizing village taxpayer funds to construct anything. If the organization, the Friends of the Parks, or anyone gets a funding to construct it, I think that's very feasible. But we've all, so not only have we maintained that road for 10 years, more than a decade on that south end, Town of Otsego got the CHIPS funding for it, and we did the paving and the sealing and all the maintenance work down there. We just signed last spring a betterment agreement. We were reiterating tonight because Town of Otsego does not want to fund the lights on the Route 28 improvement area. So I feel quite strongly, I really love dogs and I want a dog park. I think we have 2 village parks where this might be feasible and might be feasible to use taxpayer money. I am extremely reticent about utilization of village taxpayer funds in the town of Otsego.
But we do maintain that property.
The sewer
mow
plant
it.
mows, and they mow partly because that is our drainage area up there too. When that southernmost lot, which is totally in the town of Otsego, when we pile all our snow there, we developed that drainage system. So when the snow melts, it goes out into that field. So yes, we do know there.
I think we can cut through one of the problems here. I propose an editorial. A site,
Thank you.
considering, but I want to address substantive legal issue under your line your concern. We just finished discussing the expenditure of over $200,000 in the town of.
For property the village has owned since almost 100 years.
Right, and the property that we own the interest in is indistinguishable legally from, in terms of our authority to expend funds on property we own, is indistinguishable from Ferry Spring 314. So I just think it's, I'd like to lay that to rest. I think it's incorrect to say that we have no authority to spend funds. The public improvement issues about Route 28 was talking about spending village funds on a highway improvement that is not at all under our jurisdiction, but is going to be to our benefit. I mean, I think the proprietary, the governmental function of the street lighting versus the proprietary function of maintaining a swimming hole or a dog park on property owned by the village are two, to me, utterly different things. But I think this, just to finish my point, Richard, so to table or at least to put in a sidetrack any discussion, we're too far ahead of that issue anyway. But all we're trying to do in this letter is understand, get a mutual understanding of the nature and extent of the scope of our easement and its use by the village. That's all we're doing with this letter in this. We're not
Yep,
talking about.
I'm glad that you were willing to change it to A. Richard?
Actually, as soon as, I suggest that we stop here, have the meeting, come back and see what comes out of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I move that we, I move that we.
With those corrections.
With the corrections, yeah, and
authorize
send it out.
The Parks Board Chair to send the letter on behalf of the village to the school board so that we can engage in this discussion.
To the Finance and Facilities Chair
Right.
Correct.
Committee.
And so then what we're saying is that we would change the first line of the second paragraph to we are considering a site
A site, we are,
A site.
instead of
A
thus, instead of the.
for the
A.
dog park.
Say.
And then there's a space between 2011 and or. And on the third line, construction of
A
and
recreational,
village is deleted there.
right, but it should, the first line should actually say, we are considering a site for the dog park.
A site we are considering for the dog park is,
Okay, but we've got the Cooperstown Central School District is in the is land that is, it is Cooperstown Central School District land.
land.
Yeah.
That is,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, yeah.
got it. All right.
Mhm.
So what would happen is if, do you want to make these corrections?
Yes, and then if
And then.
Jen
can
can
you
put it on.
Letterhead. And then all the addresses are there, the email
Right.
addresses are there. It would go out from your office then.
Yeah,
I think that way we'll have a sense.
yeah, I mean, January 15th, if you're gonna be here before you know it, it's a
Right,
month away,
yeah, so it should go
so
out.
it needs to go out. Okay.
So the motion was made and seconded,
Second.
and all in favor?
Aye. And then the only other business that we really talked about, and unfortunately, we haven't made any progress on it, is the park survey. Randy was not he's been working on it, and we've requested some updates from him, and then we would send it out. At this point, it hasn't happened, so we have to get back in touch with him. And that's it.
All right, motion to accept Parks Board report?
Yes, I'll make it, and I'll second it rather, just one, Jenna, there will be the two attachments that are in.
Yes, that would go with it.
Go with the letter.
Yeah.
And they're in electronic form, so this all can be emailed. And finished.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to community and environment.
Now, you made the call, not at this breakfast with the board, but at a previous breakfast with the board, there was discussion about here.
Yes.
In the village, and, you know, clearly I don't have to tell you that there are here in the village, and there's quite a few of them. The Shelby Fish had a suggestion that if we want to move forward with thinking any more proactive, action would be the right thing to do, which is to form a task force to study. You know, what next steps would be, sort of like the dog park subcommittee of the task force, this would be a year's committee. I don't know if the board feels strongly that we need to go there at this point in time, or if we're gonna wait to see how our increasingly bitter winter does with your population and get into your level.
Can we take that first step though in like do an article for the paper, or certainly in the next Village Voice is just saying that it's illegal to feed wildlife
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there are feeding stations attracting these deer in the community. That's an easy fix.
That I can do something you can post on Facebook, and we can forward a celebration.
Where are these feeding stations?
There are people who like deer, and they.
So they put it in their backyard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when you know you're in a high crime district. Our big concern there.
That is our group. They is more pressing on the back page. We have the Willowbrook report in draft form. I understand that it's exceedingly long, almost 300 pages. And that I think everyone wants it may finally now be able to access it. They would like our feedback. Joe provided some to me, in terms of things that may need to be clarified or.
A little more information on, yeah.
I'd like to set a deadline for when that happens with the members of the board. So for instance, I realize it's a very busy time. If by the end of this week, I don't hear from you, I will assume you don't have comments and I can get back to the.
I read. What would it cover about 80-page report? The remaining 220 pages are all the footnotes and such?
So the first 44 pages are the report, and then the subsequent pages are appendices. They're not footnotes.
All right, that's broad use.
Yeah, it's the data and the mapping that informed their study, so it's actually really important stuff, but you don't have to read it with the same intensity perhaps that you read the.
So that, just to help orient people to what they'll be looking at, if you haven't looked at it already, there seem to be two sides of this coin. One was, what is the floodplain and what is the risk? And the other is, what are the structures several of which, well, all the man-made structures that manage the flow of the water, starting at Moe Pond all the way down to the village. So we're not just talking about a natural water course with a floodplain. We're talking about ditches by roads. We're talking about culverts on the stream. We're talking about basically covered tunnels. And the one thing that we did was commission a pretty close examination of the culvert. We call it the Main Street culvert, but it starts up at Doubleday Field and goes all the way under Main Street and past the property, comes out, all closer to Lake Street. Well, not closer to Lake Street, but it's an extensive tunnel, and it shows a lot of, one question is the flood capacity of the channel, and the other is the integrity of the structures that we're using to manage the flow. And some of those structures are described as in deteriorating, progressively deteriorating condition. Right. So the question is, and that is only for the facility that we asked them to look at closely. There is the culvert that underlies the Railroad Avenue property by the hotel there, but they describe it in the report only as a street crossing under Railroad Avenue, but the culvert actually is a couple of 100 feet, I would say, in length. And when I've gone to look at it, it is probably a third of the way silted up with dirt and cobbles. So its capacity is, to me, sharply reduced. Upstream of which, they actually don't do that very well. Upstream of that, they don't assess its condition. They don't even show it as a culvert. They show it as a street crossing. But the point is, just upstream of that, we invested a lot of money through grants and otherwise in the Grove Street culvert, which is a major facility, the capacity of which is 5, 6, 7, 8 times what is just downstream of it. So the reason I bring this up is whether we already have a proposal. I don't know if it's moribund or we return to do some building construction over that site. And we have held that off, trying to get an understanding of what we're up against with this flood risk. And while the flood risk is described overall as low.
Right, it could be remediated by just elevating the building a bit.
But they're still talking about the possibility of a foot of water getting hither and yon. And so the impacts of that are, in terms of catastrophic flooding, pretty low, which is good news. But what do we want to do, if anything, about evaluating the rest of our culverts in the village?
So we have a separate report on the culvert that you're speaking of.
The Main Street culvert.
No, the railroad one, the property owner, had to pay for that.
Well, but I thought we were going to have the property owner have to, I don't know what the work product was. I thought if he was going to build, we were going to have him replace it. But we couldn't find the as-built, I thought, and we
authorized and the applicant paid for a report done by urban engineering on that culvert. The report exists. It is a report on the singular culvert, and we do not have application.
Right.
So that's where we're at.
Right. But I thought part of our discussion was at least my rationale for denying the application was we hadn't completed our flood risk assessment. And now we have that.
Yes, and it shows 2 areas of concern. But what about Ritchie Street and Main Street? So I think that we have the documentation that we need at this point.
And we don't, the open concrete channel downstream of Railroad Avenue that runs all the way to Doubleday Field is not something that requires evaluation.
We didn't ask them to.
No, exactly. I know that's why I'm bringing this up.
Back and evaluate it.
No, I understand that, but is that a gap in our understanding of what our infrastructure costs might be going forward? That's all I'm saying.
I mean, we can do a separate study, but because it's open, it seems more obvious, and we did in James our report.
Were you able to discern from the report that they felt there was, the structures themselves would not be damaged by the kind of flooding they predict? Or is it just that over time, these, particularly the overhead structures, I mean, we have buildings sitting on top, elements that, some of which are deteriorating. And then the street itself, so. I'm just trying to make sure that there's something to comment on, if there's more detail we'd like them to give us about the work that they did.
Yeah.
Um,
That would be.
And I thought you addressed that. So basically Cindy's saying if anybody has any additional comments or considerations, get them to her by the end of the week so that we can get this back to them. Yeah.
Right.
I will have to say, I thought the under Main Street culvert with the pictures, I thought that was going to be much more problematic, and it was amazing that it was not, and that they saw, some spalling, et cetera, things that could be remediated, but in general, that was considered very good.
and
So-
did they not say no impaired flow through that? In other words, the existing capacity in its current condition is fine to handle any.
That's what I read.
All right. The only other thing I would comment on is the EV chargers. It's noted that there's no grace period, and that we actually found is not accurate. When you charge there, as you do at any EV charging place, you have an app. It alerts you as you are about to finish charging. Then it says you have finished charging and you have 15 minutes to move your vehicle. And obviously, some that's been ignored.
Okay.
It is, yeah. And if you have the app, you see that on there, but it was confirmed by the company as well. So there is a bit of a pricey, a little more than other areas, but it's $1 a minute if after that 15 minutes, if you don't move your vehicle. But I thought Shelby's comment that, you don't go to a gas pump and then go in and eat dinner for 3 hours and expect there not to be repercussions. So this is a refueling place and they need to have them bake it.
We are working on the sign.
Yes, I was gonna say
Yeah,
that.
make it better.
Yeah.
Yep. Any other questions, comments on community environment?
No.
A motion to accept by Molly, second by Audrey, all in favor?
Aye.
Water and Sewer Board?
The only issue I found noteworthy was our discussion of the hydrants, which we've already made. There was one late arriving complaint for relief from damage due to the pressure testing back in the. And a letter was included and he'll be contacted to see what he can actually document by way of costs. And I think it was a fairly amicable discussion again with our water. Beyond that, I don't think, the other matter which we've taken care of in finance is that we have what's called a trickling filter in the wastewater treatment plant that, even though it's part of our new infrastructure, it has failed. And when we had our water and sewer board meeting, we thought it would be a relatively easy fix, and it turns out that's not the case. So we are planning to move from equipment reserves about $30,000 to $25,000 to $30,000 to address the repair. We have that on hand in our water account, our sewer account rather. And I think that's all I've got. Unless somebody has some questions, I'm happy to address them.
Any questions? No. Motion to accept water and sewer board report?
Second.
Uh, all in favor, or, aye.
Aye.
Say aye. All right. You have, quite a few minutes from Watershed Supervisory Committee. You have their November 5th, November 19th, and December 3rd minutes in there. They, as I say, they're pretty active implementing this plan. I did want to bring up under Watershed Supervisory Committee a question about the inspection fee. So as you all received this afternoon, a copy of the local law number 2 of 2024. Remember this, the Watershed Supervisory Committee was established decades ago, basically under New York state law. But we did amend it. I think it went through like 7 draftings and finally approved it in March 2024 at our meeting. And the final section of that law, as had always been in the law, Section 285-13 fees, stated the Board of Trustees of the Village of Cooperstown may establish and collect a fee for the administration of this law. That had always been in the law. It never had, a fee had never been established. After much discussion, particularly with all the activity that, and are handling almost $1 million in grants to try and ensure that we have a 9E plan in place and the protection of the watershed. At our March 24th, 2025 board meeting, we approved $150 inspection fee. And based on 375 systems in the watershed, inspecting 1/3, expecting a system every 3 years. So 1/3 of the systems each year, it would amount, it's not a lot of money, it would amount to maybe about $18,000. There was discussion at that. If you read the minutes, it was noted that all the towns involved in the watershed, Middlefield, Springfield, and Otsego concurred with this fee. At that time, Springfield said, we'll collect the fee, but they later changed their mind and decided they wouldn't collect the fee. They'd rather have the village do it. It's never, so that obviously occurred earlier this year. We had changes in leadership at the watershed, so nothing was ever implemented. And it became, do we do this, you know, et cetera. And Joe had a good point. He passed around a letter that he felt we should inquire of the Department of State, which is, we register all our laws with the Department of State, to see if we actually had this authority to do it. And so I took his letter, I was drafting it, and just like when we had the question about the signage and lowering the speed zone on Route 28, it helped having the individual in charge who answered right away, said they'll look at that at the end of the project. So I contacted the Department of State and I explained what I wanted to do. And it was very interesting. They couldn't quite understand what I wanted. And I said, I want you to, we're just trying to decide if this is legal. I have a trustee who's interested in this. And they said, we aren't going to tell you that, which is all right. Just say I told you so. It's what the village attorney had. So I thought, oh gosh, how am I going to get this conveyed? And then I thought, 2 of us here have a perfect example of this, Cindy and I, because back in 2000, what was it, 13, we passed paid parking on Main Street, Cooperstown, and other areas. And if you think you've ever sat through an exciting board meeting, you should have sat through those. There was standing room only, television cameras, people screaming at us, truly. I give credit to the board at that time because we now know this brings in over $400,000 a year. It's sorely needed revenue. We were subsidizing people's vacation. And so I've been on I think you were on less time than I. We were sitting here and they had lawyered up and we were all handed 35-page packet. We were being sued because they didn't consider that law valid. So what do? Our attorney went to court and we prevailed and the law stood. But that's how that was decided, whether that law was legal or not. It goes to court, just like theoretically it should be happening in that way on our national level, but we won't get into that whole discussion. So I went back to this folder and it's amazing I don't have PTSD because the village of Cooperstown, Mayor Jeff Katz and all the village trustees have been served was the headline, was the opening line of that. So the bottom line is, if this law is not, our ability to enforce that inspection fee is not, or to institute it is not valid, it would have to be decided by the courts. It can't go the Department of State. There was zero response there.
What I suggested is we go ahead at some point and build the people that have had it as a village. If the towns aren't gonna help us, someone doesn't want to pay it, take them, it's an easy court case. And if they want to get a class action.
And I should point out that though we didn't get this quite off the ground, there have been people who have paid this fee this year. And all the town supervisors, it was great having that leadership meeting last week. They're still behind this 100%. So at this point, we're going to move forward utilizing the Watershed Supervisory Committee letterhead, which has Town of Springfield, Town of Otsego, Town of Middlefield, all the jurisdictions on it, and compose that letter. It'll go out, and then when inspections, because obviously no inspections are occurring now, when those inspections do commence, they will have been put on notice. They'll have received the letter, and I think it'll be pretty smooth going forward. All right? You have, thank you, Joe.
Delirious.
All right. I want you to have the experience of being sued so much.
That's good. I get it.
I had one quick question. You said that $18,000 would come in?
18,700.
Each year. Each year.
Oh, for paid parking?
No.
No, for the
inspection.
Inspection.
Yeah.
18,000 per year.
Yeah, because if you take 125 and multiply it by
By the
150 or so, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yep, that's how it is. It's not a huge amount considering this board, and I give us all the credit, hired a full-time watershed coordinator inspector.
Right.
Yeah. Moving on, we have authorized award of fuel and propane bid for 2026. The low bid was Buell Fuels at $2.5375 a gallon for fuel oil and $1.4850 per gallon for propane.
Motion.
Second, you said? All in favor?
I
And then we have to approve the village election resolution. I'm up. So is someone want to make that motion?
I'll make a motion.
By Audrey, second by Molly, all in favor?
Aye.
If you can't make the motion, Molly can't second.
I can make the motion. I just looked down and saw
Okay.
any of us can do that. I'm still in office.
I have no business that I brought up this morning. I filled out an application to use the ballroom either Wednesday or Thursday for Memorial. I discovered today I can't pull it off in that limited amount of time, so I'm gonna go. Sorry. Thank you, Lou.
Thank you, Richard, for considering doing it, though. I think it was an important action. Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
I would ask you that, because somebody brought up the point to me. Well, there are plenty of multiple shootings and other activities and all sorts of stuff. Think we want to do something next year in line of recognizing just general violence in America, because there is at least one mass shooting event in the United States every day, as defined by 4
Right.
You're not including the shooting.
Actually, it's 501.
Actually, I just looked it up. It's 398 for this year.
Oh, I had heard.
Yeah. It also depends on how you define it.
I think that's, yeah, I think that's a very commendable thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, upcoming meetings, breakfast with the board, Monday, January, oh, wow, at the end of January. Monday, January 28th, I'm sorry, 26, 2026 at 8 in the morning, Board of Trustee meeting, Monday, January 26 at 6. And it's important for us to know we have our Board of Assessment Review grievance night, Tuesday, February 17th. And again, this is a 4-hour commitment. You can't be there for 2 hours and then depart because the board is convened and that's what it is. So we do need a quorum. I'm pretty sure I will be here. Are there 3 other people who will be?
Pretty sure I'll be here.
Yeah.
Be here as well.
Yeah. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. So it sounds like we'll have a quorum for that. So we're all set. I need to have an executive session to discuss a contract negotiation and work history, the personnel issue.
Second.
Second by Cindy, all in favor? Thank you for attending.
very broad based. Conformance with the plans, but the plans were pretty broad based.
We passed. That's, we are.
Yeah. You want to make a motion? The deputy trend.
The deputy treasurer and just advertise what you can, only you see all and so I mean. It'll be immediate.
All right, second, all in favor? Aye. That was, sorry,
Sorry.
that was the person. I think that's the only action we have to take. All right. All right. If that is it, I adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone.